Hey guys, it's Ryan here with the Average Joe DFS Week 8 DraftKings stack picks. Just wanted to take a moment before we get into any picks or anything to introduce you to myself and the channel. Basically, I just started this channel. My name's Ryan. I'm pretty much the average guy working 9 to 5 in the office. Kind of do fantasy sports on the side, for a little bit beer money, make Sundays a little interesting. The channel's called The Average Joe DFS. Right now, I'm just working on football, specifically on DraftKings, but I'm going to transition to basketball soon, hopefully. I'm going to be providing weekly updates, weekly videos for basic strategy, lineups, stacks, anything that I think will help you guys get in the green because that's pretty much what we do DraftKings for. So if you have any questions, plop down a comment down there. I really want to be engaged with everyone listening, whether you're an avid listener or you're just looking for a couple quick picks before your Sunday game. Just throw a comment down, subscribe. That'd be awesome. Let's get into these picks. All right, guys, I'm going to let you in on two of my favorite stacks of the week, which I'm going to be playing pretty much in every single cash game I'm in, as well as three value stacks that I think can really pay off in tournament play. So before we get started, I just want to speak to anybody that's new out there playing DraftKings for the first time or anyone that's unfamiliar with the stacking strategy. Stacking is pretty much choosing a quarterback and whoever he's throwing to. So that could be a wide receiver, a tight end, even a running back in some situations. When you stack, you really boost your points on big plays, and it can be a calculated risk that can really pay off in the end and get you into the green. So, for instance, if a quarterback he throws a 50-yard touchdown, we're looking at about 6 points. If he throws a 50-yard touchdown to a wide receiver on your team, we're looking at about an 18 points combined between the QB and the wide receiver. So, like I said before, it's a great way to kind of jump up the leaderboard, get yourself in the green. And as long as you're doing a little research or you're watching my videos, I'm going to let you in on some pretty safe stacks that you can play and not worry about missing out. So let's get into the first one. This is probably the top stack of the week. It's Phillip Rivers and pretty much anybody he's throwing to on the team. Rivers is coming in at 6,600. He's on a hot streak already. He's got 29.2, 24.6, 31.1, and 30.4 in the last 4 games. He's already thrown 311 passes in the first 7 games. His attempts are off the chart, 58, 65, 48, just unheard of numbers. They can't get the running game going, and I don't see it starting this week. He's facing a weak Baltimore defense with a pretty rough secondary. They do have a strong blitz and a strong front line, so I think the Chargers are going to have to abandon the run at some point like they always do and just start airing the ball out. He's only missed the 300-yard mark twice. And for anyone that's new to DraftKings, the 300-yard mark is pretty big in the fact that when a QB throws for 300 yards or above, they get a little bonus. I think it's about 3 points. But it's enough points that it could push you up against someone else and get you into the green. So you're really looking for QBs that are hitting that 300-yard mark and have the potential to throw a lot of TDs. And Phillip Rivers has one of the most high-caliber offenses in the league when you look at the players. So he's definitely has a chance to throw a few TDs every week. The people we have stacked with Rivers, we got a wide receiver with Allen, 2 tight ends in Gates and Green, and then even a running back with Woodhead, which you don't see too often. But let's get into Keenan Allen. He's just been a target machine. Obviously less than DeAndre Hopkins, but he's got to be up there comparably. He's had 62 receptions on the season. His TDs are a little low. He's only found pay dirt twice. But when he hits those TDs, he's having big games. I'm talking 34.6, 40.3, 32.17. He's really a guy that when he's on, he's going to boost you up. And if you didn't have him, too bad because you're not making any money that week. He's averaging 22.4 points, and he's coming in at 7,700. So he is one of the top wide receivers this week as price goes. But I do think with his matchup and his quarterback and just the game flow that he's definitely worth that price, and I'm going to be starting him in most of my Rivers matches. So the next option is pairing Rivers with a tight end. So the Chargers are interesting. They have two tight ends that really could start on any team any week. They got Gates, who's debatably the best tight end of all time, and Ladarius Green, he's just proven his worth right now. He's coming off a few good games in Gates' absence, and even when Gates is playing, he's still hitting target and getting us points. So I'm not crazy about either tight end stacking with Rivers if they both play. I'm really pushing targets. So Gates, it's hard to say that though because honestly both players are putting up points each week. So you could really run with Gates or Green in this one. I will say that if Gates doesn't start, he is battling some MCL issues in his knee and he may not get the start this week. Then I'm starting Ladarius in pretty much every single one of my lineups, regardless if Keenan Allen's in as well. The last option is Danny Woodhead, who's coming in at 4,500. And it's not often that you see a running back stacked with a QB just because they don't usually correlate, because handoffs obviously don't count for anything. But Woodhead isn't your average running back. He's pretty much a pass catching back. That's where he gets his points. It's PPR. Woodhead's the king. He's getting in check downs, and every catch, regardless if it's 2 yards or 50 yards, is worth a point. So when he just keeps getting these short yardage gains at the end of games, it's just bumping points up. And if he can find the end zone, he's looking at great value coming in at 4,500, and he's averaging 17.2. So he's definitely an interesting play this week. And I think if you are going to put him in your lineup as a running back, you should stack him with Rivers. So my second stack of the week is all focused on Big Ben Roethlisberger. He's coming in at 6,700, and I got Bryant and Brown for him to stack with. Both two explosive wide receivers on a high caliber offense. Makes for a pretty good stack when your quarterback's slinging it. So Big Ben, he's putting up yards and TDs when he's healthy, and that's all before playing with Bryant. Bryant just came back while Roethlisberger's been injured, which also is something to monitor. This stack is only useful if Roethlisberger plays. If he doesn't play, I don't think I'm starting any of these guys. So it's something to monitor as long with Gates' MCL issue before the end of the week. Definitely check in on that. If I do hear anything, I'll post it in the comments. But he's going up against the Bengals, who have a pretty decent defense, but their secondary is ranked 18th, so they're in the lower end, and it's just going to be a divisional matchup, a little grounded out Steelers action. So I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game. Andy Dalton's playing real well right now, so it might be a shootout, and regardless, I think these are great. This is a great combo to stack with. So get into it. We got Antonio Brown, debatably the best receiver. If not, he's definitely coming in your top 3 discussion. He's sitting at 7,800, which is 1,400 less than the number 1 wide receiver on DraftKings, which is Julio Jones. In his games that he played with Ben Roethlisberger, he scored 31.3, 39.5, and 24.8. So he's putting up numbers. He's clearly hitting value. He's exceeding value. And I think if Roth gets a start, then Brown's finding his way into any lineup then that Roth is in. The second option is Martavis Bryant, who's coming in at 5,300. Had a monster week 2 weeks ago. Had a decent week last week. And that's with Landry Jones throwing to him. So I can only imagine that with Ben slinging the ball, his value is just going to go up. So this might be a low price that we see Bryant at. See if he can keep it up. He's that deep threat that the Steelers have, and he's a red zone target. So I think both of these guys make a really good play this week. Whether you choose Bryant or Brown is really up to your salary, how you want to play other positions, whether you want to go high on wide receiver, high on running back. But I would definitely suggest Antonio Brown because I think this week we get back to the old Brown, and his price isn't going to be where it is right now forever. So right here on the screen that you can see are my 3 value stacks of the week. First one, we got Teddy Bridgewater and Stephon Diggs. Second, we got Fitzpatrick with Decker or Marshall. And then finally, we got Cutler with Forte or Alshon Jeffrey. So let's get into the Bridgewater Diggs stack, which honestly, that won me a lot of money last week. It was a low play. I think only 3% of people had Bridgewater in the tournament. And Stephon Diggs obviously had that highlight catch for a touchdown, which really boosted the value and everyone met value for sure. They both exceeded it. So that really helped me get into the green last week. And I think Bridgewater has the ability to do it again. So does Diggs. Diggs is on a hot streak right now, so I think he's a viable option. Bridgewater's coming in at 5,100, so he's basically as low as you can go at the quarterback position. And Diggs is sitting there at 4,800. He was a sleeper a few weeks ago, but I mean, if you look at the stats, he's got the guy, he can play, and his price isn't going to be too low anymore. So I would scoop this up while you still can at the low price. If you they're going to come together at about 9,900. So between a quarterback and a wide receiver, that leaves you with a lot of money to go out there and get the big target guys, the expensive guys that are going to put up points. So once again, I think Bridgewater and Diggs both hit value. I think they actually exceed it. They're going against the Chicago defense, which is definitely exploitable, and Diggs gets a ton of targets. And as long as Bridgewater doesn't turn the ball over, we're looking at a good game again. The second stack on here is Fitzpatrick with either Marshall or Decker. Fitzpatrick, I also had last week. He was a little bit of a disappointment. He still had 21 points. I was hoping for a bit more. I guess you really can't expect too much. He's coming in just above the bare minimum for quarterback at 5,200. And he's got an arsenal too in Brandon Marshall, one of the top wide receivers in the game, and Mr. Reliable over here, Eric Decker, who he's coming in and he's putting up a solid 15 points every day. You don't have to sweat about him at all. If you're looking for a cheap fill-in, Eric Decker's your man. He's going to meet value every week, and he's going to get you those points. So between Decker and Marshall, I'm going to go with Marshall just because he has a little bit more upside. He's obviously a little bit more, he's priced higher. He's at 7,800 compared to the 5,300 that Decker's at. But, I mean, he's a target machine, and he's a big threat in the red zone. He didn't score last week, which kind of hurt me in my Fitzgerald-Marshall stacks, but he did have a drop ball in the end zone, which he definitely should have caught, which if he caught that, that's a whole different story. I think that stack pays off big time. I didn't get burned on it. It just didn't pay off like I wanted to. I definitely still have faith. So in any tournaments, I'm probably going to start at least one game with all three of these stacks and see where it goes. So if you're into Fitzmagic, I think this is a good option this week going against the Bears. Speaking of the Bears, let's transition into my last stack for value stacks, and that's Jay Cutler and Alshon Jeffrey and or Matt Forte. So once again, start with Matt Forte. He's really the workhorse of this team. He's getting a ton of catches. He's getting a ton of carries. It's kind of similar to Woodhead where he catches the ball an awful lot, but at the same time, he's definitely a little more athletic, a little more true running back than Woodhead, where he's going to have the potential to get 100 yards every game as well. So I think he's a great option at running back, and if you want to make that Cutler Forte stack and hope that he gets a lot of little drop-down targets, the Vikings defense has been pretty good, so I'm expecting Cutler to get rushed. He might be a good value play at running back. The other option is Alshon Jeffrey, who's coming in at 6,400. I think this is another guy who's underpriced. If he didn't get injured this year, I think we're talking 7,600 range. He's up with the elite Brandon Marshalls and Calvin Johnsons of the league. He had a real big game before the bye week. He's getting a ton of targets. And as long as Cutler can not turn the ball over too much, I think this is going to also be a pretty high scoring game. Expect Jeffrey to get a lot of targets. I'm expecting Forte to get a touchdown. Hopefully it's through the air if you stack him. If not, I still think he runs one in. He's going to end up with at least one. So those are my big plays for the week. I'm going to be coming out with a video on running back plays. I'm going to break down my top 3 running backs of the week, some intermediate guys to consider, some top value plays, and then people I'm straight up avoiding for the week. So that video will be coming out soon. If you enjoy the video, which I hope you did, let me know. I've never really done any videos or podcasts, whatever you want to call this. So it's my first time filming, editing. So any tips, tricks, anything you want to hear for next video, I haven't started filming that yet. So if you have any questions, I'll try to get those addressed while I'm recording. If not, just like I said before, throw a comment down there and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for listening.